Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second installment of the Storyteller series here on the Symphony. If you don't know who we are, Symphony Entertainment Gaming and Arts is a gaming company that focuses on horror systems, indie games, organic content, and player agency to bring a symphonic approach to horror role-playing. I'm your host, Bucho. I'm the chief production daddy at Symphony Entertainment, and this afternoon we're going to do another great deep dive into some aspects involved in the craft of writing. So whether that's creating a whole gaming system from scratch, writing a book, or creating a scenario for an already existing game. This delicious crew of creators will provide a little insight into some of their best practices, their tips, their tricks, as well as possibly highlight some of their favorite tools that they use when they are creating their creations. One quick announcement. Symphony Entertainment has a Patreon, so if you like this content and you want to help us create more, please back the Symphony on Patreon. You can check us out there at patreon.com/Symphony Entertainment. Now, let's get to the good stuff. Cast members, please introduce yourselves. Tell us where people can find you and some of the things that you do out in the digital space. I'm going to go alphabetically, so let's start with Graham.
I'm not telling you where you can find me. Just keep away. I need my space. Hi, I'm Graham Walmsley. I'm the author of. I'm best known for Cthulhu Dark, and I've written games like Cosmic Dark, and also lots of other weird things. We're doing kind of mild plugs now, are we? So you can find me on www.patreon.com/Graham, and I'm on all the social media apart from that one.
You got patreon.com/Graham?
I know.
Wow. Okay. I never noticed that before. That's hilarious. Hedge, tell us who you are and where they can find you.
Hello, my name is John Hedge, and I am the backstage manager over at the Miskatonic Playhouse, where we play actual plays of Miskatonic Repository community content. You'll hear more about it when Newman talks. But I'm also the writer of Embers of Humanity, a hope punk post-apocalyptic role-playing game, which is about to hit its Kickstarter for the print edition. So if you're interested in finding out more, come follow Embers of Humanity on any of the platforms, or just come talk to me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Sue, tell us who are you and where can we find you?
I'm Sue Savage. You can find me in various places on the internet under the name Savage Spiel, including Blue Sky and Blogspot. I'm the author of Matrons of Mystery, a cozy mystery RPG based on Brindlewood Bay. You can get that from Lulu and Drive-Thru RPG. And I also write a bunch of RPG scenarios for a variety of different games.
Beautiful. Mr. Newman, capping us off.
Oh, yes. You can find me on my OnlyFans, which is Newman and Hedge Special Occasions. You can find me on the Miskatonic Playhouse, which is where I tend to live as the something director, creative. I don't know, something or other. Hedge usually tells me what it is. But you can also find me in the very near future or past, depending on your time traveling experience, at MRCon, which is the 17th, 18th, and 19th of October on the MRCon Discord, which is the Miskatonic Repository Convention. Free gaming for everybody, and I've written some scenarios. Some silly people bought them. Kind of me really. And there's a gold bestseller in there somewhere. I bought them all. But I'm here because Bucho thinks I know how to say things like these good people, which I don't.
It's a good facade. Good facade.
I just want everyone to know that I did advise Newman how to put the Miskatonic Playhouse on his real life CV, which he sent to real grown-ups.
And they gave me jobs.
That's terrifying.
All right. Well, let's start off with some questions pertaining to your writing philosophies. Everybody has a different one. Everybody kind of came up in very different ways. Whether you are writing a story or writing a game, or whether you are consuming one of those things, like what do you think makes a good story? Like to you personally, or as a creator, is there kind of a driving force behind it for you? Graham, I can already see you rolling your eyes at this, which I cannot wait for the response on this.
Oh, is this me? Am I going? Yeah, the question's bullshit.
If you yes,
no,
let's,
I can tell you. I've got to explain to people, but I told everyone before the stream that I was going to tell Bucho this question's bullshit. Look, there's no such thing as a good story. I mean, I guess I'm here as a game designer, right?
Sure.
A bit of a scenario writer.
Sure.
But there's no good. You give me a perfectly crafted story, and the next thing I want to read is a completely broken story. Give me this kind of perfectly polished thing, and I'm like, okay, but actually, I like the broken one slightly more.
Sure.
So the idea of a good story, it's not a thing, and if we try and define it, all of that.
So fair. I didn't mean like philosophically or objectively what makes a good story, but to you, like what do you like out of a story? Well, like for you personally.
Can I jump on the hate train?
Yeah.
Because my personal thing is that I really hate the hero's journey. I'm just sick of it. I've been inundated with it every day of my fucking life since I was 5 years old and I learned to read. And it is just, I'm done with it. We have this way of talking and communicating and telling stories, which is about who we are as a people. It's about communication. It's built into the way we communicate as a species. It comes down to the way we talked and spoke around fires. It built into the way we developed and created our language. And the story that the hero's journey tells, the one that is so endemic in all of our movies and films, especially if you're in the West, is the story where there is a character who is mundane and then they go through a transition where they become a hero and they nearly lose, but then they save the day. You have heard it be told in every single Marvel film you've ever seen, in every hero's book you've ever read. You see it all over the place, and I am so done with it.
Yeah.
It is not the only story. It is the same. It is the McDonald's of storytelling. It is boring. I've done it. I know you're going to do that. Give me something else. And so that was really where my journey as a storyteller kind of became interesting. I wanted to tell different stories, and I found myself through that process being in horror, and specifically finding horror role-playing really interesting because there wasn't just one outcome. You could start a horror story and actually you could win. It was possible, but it's not likely. Mostly you're probably going to get transformed in some horrifying way. You might not even solve the mystery and die horribly. You might kind of solve the mystery and come away with it with more questions than answers, or anything in between. And that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Bucho.
Yeah.
As a teacher, I feel like it's important I raise my hand. I'm going to disagree with Hedge and Graham here. I think we need another retelling of Harry Potter and Star Wars. I think we need another trilogy. I think that 7, point structure, the Greek mythic structure, is something that we need more of.
Sure.
If you can't tell at home, I'm being quite sarcastic here. I hadn't actually thought about it like this, but the way you guys are talking about it, I think perhaps subconsciously that's I might be generalizing here, but the way then you said, Hedge, like, we're drawn to horror because of you don't solve it, you get this, you get that. Maybe that's something subconsciously that a lot of us actually are drawn to, because we're not going, and the call to arms and the status quo has changed and there's the mentor and there's this, and it's very different, isn't it, in the either the game design or the world that we do. But I think when I read your question, I was super simple on this, guys. My brain was so simple. What makes a good story to you? I went with hooks. Like
Sure.
things like if they keep hooking me, I kind of go, okay, it could be. And I love Graham's thing about the broken story. I've read some really crap books, but they've been brilliant. They've been great, but they've been crap as well. But and I love it. But I think hooks. My thing is if I keep reading something and and I'm so tired sometimes when I'm reading because life, and you just if it doesn't go fucking got you again, this bit, pay attention, this is exciting, or whether it's playing a game, it could be a computer game, could be an in-person game, unless the little barbs, those little hooks are there to keep grabbing me. I think for a lot of the reasons that Graham and Hedge talked about, actually, that the broken nature or the things you don't find out, those things are interesting. They're storytelling.
Sue, how about you?
I think what I want from a story is for it to make me feel things, and obviously not things like boredom or rage. Particularly in horror, I want to feel scared. I want to feel sad. I occasionally want to feel disgusted. Generally, if Scott Dorward's involved, that's going to happen.
Hedge, you look like you wanted to step in and say something.
I really like that idea of I want a story to make me feel something. I think one of the reasons I play is because I'm looking to interact, and interacting is to make me feel. That makes sense to me.
Mm. I think there's something I'm totally with that, and I'm totally with Newman's thing about being hooked, right? Like if there's one rule for writing a game or a scenario or anything, it has to engage people, and if you haven't done that, you've kind of failed. And engaged can mean fun, or it can mean horrify, or something like that, but it's got to get people. One thing I really care about is sort of human relationships, and making the humans in the story human. And I think one thing we do a bit too much is kind of just paint in very broad brushstrokes. And so for me, the moment that I feel I'm cutting a little deeper, that I've actually made kind of gone, oh right, that's that's a human thing I've felt. That's not just a genre thing. The moment I've done that, I feel I've done something good in a story.
Yeah, that human nature aspect is really huge. I've noticed even when people, when they read my stuff, they're like, your stuff is really weird, but like there's still a humanness to it. There's something that people can connect to. And like for me, like I love good surrealism when I don't understand it, but I really like it when it's so fucking weird and then it still hits me in an emotional capacity. And that I think is important when you hit one of those emotional beats, for sure. Yeah, I would agree with that.
It really comes across in your work as well.
Sorry, Hedge.
Bucho, that comes really across in your work. Sometimes I don't understand your stories, but I definitely have feelings about them.
Right. I mean, that defines how I feel about my stories too. Like I don't always understand them, but sometimes they make me feel a certain way. So, and that's kind of the point. So, Newman.
With the I suppose the gaming lens, and obviously a lot of us, tabletop role playing is our it's where we live, amongst other places. Graham saying about that cutting bit, that bit that kind of makes you go, wow, I think I've done something here. Being on the looking at other people's scenarios, I should say, I'm not claiming that I've mastered that yet, but we had a conversation the other day, and I think Hedge, you might have been a part of the conversation. It was a conversation where a writer was asking about kind of creating some really horrible PCs, so some playable characters, and I think that links in a bit. Graham's nodding, so I'm happy now. It links into what it was, because it sparked, I think, from a game that we recorded. We've not released it yet. It was Cat Clay's The Resort, and the PCs in that, some of them are quite detestable, but that the emotional experience, it totally allowed us to just experience stuff that we're not normally going to experience, play these horrible emotions, get really cutting, either that the character can do it or not. And I think for some of the players, the actual overarching story came secondary to them, exploring things with these characters and having a bit of fun. So in regard to a traditional story, there was no significant arc that anybody would have matched up together. They were doing their own the moments of togetherness, not like we're splitting the party, but experiential wise, that human experience of experiencing things that they don't normally get to experience. Some of it was really cutting. It was really cool. It was really powerful. It was great experience, I think, for everybody involved.
That's a really interesting kind of example, like because that's multiple people engaged in a game system, right? And they're experiencing it as is. On the flip side, one of the situations I came into with watching that Kevin Spacey show about him being the president. Oh my God, House of Cards.
Cards, yeah.
One of I had to bow out after like the second or third season. I was like, all of these people suck. Like there's nothing redeeming here about anybody. And so I think you run the risk, at least in this particular situation, it ran the risk of not wanting to root for anybody and just going, I no longer care about this story. You know what I mean? And so I think you've got to have a very careful balance with that kind of high emotional quotient, I think.
I think you have to understand that. Sorry, Graham.
You go.
I think you have to understand that there is a distinct difference. And I think a lot of writers make this mistake when they wander into game design role-playing, which is that it is a very different experience when you are reading and consuming something where you all of the onus is on the writer to create the feelings that the audience receives.
Yeah.
And the far more interactive experience you have in role playing, for one thing, you can't control anything. So you have to set up something and then just let it go. And on the other hand, your job is to evoke concepts, but you can't, again, control what happens. And so the complexity and the curiosity that comes from interacting is always a lot more fun. If you set up that two characters dislike each other before a role-playing game starts, and then try and play the same role-playing game without those two characters disliking each other, you're going to have a completely different experience.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
So exactly that, right, and exactly what Newman said. So I think as sort of game designers and scenario writers, it's not really our job to tell a story, because goodness knows you don't want to be in one of those sessions where the GM tells their story at you. What you're trying to do is sort of create create a game or create a scenario where the players can tell their stories. And there is part of you that goes into that. So you have to, think of it as like a ski slope or something like that. There's different ways to go down a ski slope, but it's always, there is something there and you always go to going in a particular direction. And that's really important. So there is a lot of, we do have to sort of inspire people and we do have to be evocative, but we're not actually trying to tell them a story. We're trying to let them tell their own stories.
Yeah. And that's very true. And that's one of those things that I noticed when I came into the TTRPG space as a writer. I was like, oh, this is a very different animal when it comes to writing. I mean, the same way of like nonfiction is different than fiction, is different than playwriting, is different than poet. Like they all have their strengths, but like there's still storytelling that comes through in different ways on those. Like, so when you all are creating your particular projects, when you get into a project, do you find that there is a particular theme that you have in mind? Like I've got one that kind of emerges in all of my stuff that I didn't realize until grad school. But like, is there one that you can think of that maybe is a subconscious thing, or maybe it's a very intentional kind of thing that you put in all your pieces? Is there any kind of a constant through line that you can think of?
There is for me, actually. Newman, you go.
Thank you, Graham. I'll be very quick because I imagine you'll all go, oh, really? I think I realized quite early on in writing the scenarios that I was writing, my first few scenarios, I think subconsciously I tried to create as many opportunities, never explicitly, this is what happens, because we're not telling us, telling a story where you're creating a shared experience. But I think I used to spend a lot of time creating as many opportunities to allow investigators to engage in some gentle to higher level of conflict with each other. It was almost like a thing that I enjoyed myself, so I therefore dappled my scenarios with the opportunity to kind of go on, and never saying you had to, but always presenting those opportunities. And more often than not, I think people would often either band together and go, screw you, keeper, or whatever, or it would play out. But I became aware of that in my own writing later. It's something that I reflected on and saw.
I totally agree with that. I love all that. It's something I try to do with designing games as well, is to do that. I do a lot with class, which I don't think other people tend to do. So people kind of do political stuff, but I tend to do quite a lot with class. I'm very interested in people who have sort of ambiguous positions in the class structure or just generally. So I'm fascinated by domestic servants, for example, who are obviously serving someone, but also proud to be in this country house. Disco, I'm utterly fascinated by disco and the sort of ambiguous. It's a Black and Puerto Rican queer scene in New York, but it now has an ambiguous thing going on. I do a lot of that. So there's that, and there's a bit of sort of trying to remember sort of voices that have been forgotten and periods of history that have been forgotten.
Could you point to is there an intentional reason for that, or is that just something that seems to be like a natural interest for you?
It's a little intentional, and it's just something I'm interested in. It's partly because I want forgotten voices to be remembered, and it's partly that I feel that when a lot of people are trying to write something meaningful, or something that they're trying to do the right thing. They take some quite, I'm trying to think how to describe this, but some quite obvious slants on the people they're describing. So we're going to describe workers and coal miners and so on. And I'm always like, okay, let's talk about servants. How do we feel about servants now? So yeah, I explained that badly, but that's kind of where I'm coming from.
No, the like pre-trodden paths. People retread the same paths in exploring the class system, whereas you're trying to look at it from a different lens, a different viewpoint.
Yeah. Well, I feel people. I could go on about class quite a lot. I feel people either don't think about it, and then they kind of go, "Hey, we're middle class English and American investigators going to this foreign country and unearthing." And I'm like, "Do you see what you're doing there? You haven't thought about it at all, and now you're doing this thing." Or if they try and reverse that, they do it very, very conscious and like, we're gritty coal miners and we're rebelling against. And so I'm always interested in the nuance there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a tendency to kind of move towards the cliche version of a character rather than try to find the most interesting aspect of the character. Would you agree with that? Is that kind of like where you're going with that statement, or am I misinterpreting that?
I think I'm more thinking of like the stories I'm writing and the history, the historical periods I'm writing in. But tell you what, I'll shut up and I'll let the others respond to that.
Sue or Hedge?
I can jump in here. I think the main theme I've noticed when looking back at my own stuff is the intrusion of the past onto the present, which I largely put down to having grown up on Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, that's a dense one.
Yeah, a lot of Gothic themes end up in my work, even if the actual presentation isn't particularly Gothic.
Mm-hmm.
I've spent a lot of my time copying. Copying other styles, copying other feels, getting a feel for trying to put my own spin on stuff that already exists. And I think I spent a lot of time doing that because I was sort of felt like I was waiting to figure out what story I wanted to write. But the more I think about it these days, I'm an immigrant who doesn't look like an immigrant. I look like what our news and our press says a middle-class investigator should look like, except I grew up in India and now I live in a foreign country. And so I have an awful lot of thoughts about being an immigrant and an awful lot of confusion about being an immigrant and the word and the way it's treated in society.
Yeah.
And also the fact that somehow I kind of don't count because of the way I look, which is also interesting to me. And so I being not where you're supposed to be is a thing that you kind of see in a lot of my stories. And then a fascination with Scotland because of that complex relationship I have with it is also a huge part of my writing. So I spend a lot of time writing about very classic bits of Scotland and then putting people in who just don't understand what is going on. I don't know where I'm going with a lot of it. I feel like I'm still fairly early in what I'm trying to say. I don't necessarily know what I'm trying to say yet. And you can maybe ask me in 20 years, but I get a funny feeling I still won't be able to tell you the answer.
That's fair.
It's amazing. I think it's something very important. A friend of mine calls it digging where you stand. And I think it's not that you have to only write about things you know, but I think you have to find your own way into them.
Yeah, and I've always hated that phrase, write what you know. Like that's one of those maxims that really bothered me in writing school because I was like, well, if I stay writing the things that I know, I'm never going to expand. I'm never going to have other things to write about. So yeah, I hate that phrase. But as long as you're writing, fuck it. You're being productive.
I think there is a way of sort of using writing to sort of explore your own thoughts and history and so on. So when I'm writing about disco, I'm really exploring a lot of my history in bars and clubs in the 90s.
I mean, it certainly helps to have that background, that historical record, all of that stuff already inherently known to you if that's something that you're interested in. But I think that kind of a phrase can just kind of limit some people. And make them think that they have to stay in one place when they're writing, like, and I think that can be a dangerous thing. So let's move on to some of your processes and some of your habits. Some of you work on scenarios, some of you work on like actual game systems. Do you have a similar approach to every project? Is there a kind of a different process to how you go about creating? Like I put together a specific playlist for each new project that I'm working on. I sit in a different place in the house to work specifically on that project. Like I change up a lot of the ways that I do things with every new project. So do you guys have the same kind of superstitions or habits? What do you guys tend to do?
I always start by putting the same piece of music on.
The same one?
Yep, because early on in lockdown, I wrote a cult scenario called Call to Account, which you can watch on Symphony. We recorded an actual play of it, and it was inspired by a Rihanna song. So while writing that, I just put Rihanna on a loop and listened to that for several hours.
Amazing.
Wow.
I trained my brain to associate Rihanna's voice with writing scenarios. So, yeah, I want to write a scenario. I sit down, load up the Rihanna playlist.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
I think I create best when I have a little group of people around me that are supporting me and helping me. And I think a lot of my best work has been done in collaboration. So for pretty much every project, there's a couple of people that I've normally have as deep in and involved as I can. And whenever I get people involved, it tends to create much better stuff because it turns out that other voices have value. And so, yeah, my first thing is trying to figure out and assemble the group.
Yeah, having trust
change. Sorry, Bucho.
No, that's a good question.
Like, do your people change, or does your group of people change per project?
Yeah, definitely. So, for instance, I really enjoy working with the Miskatonic Playhouse. It's one of the reasons why I'm still there. When I get to create within the Miskatonic Playhouse, we create really cool stuff because we have a broad range of skills. We have some really talented artists. We have really talented producer. Newman's there. And then when we work together, it's really awesome. The really cool stuff that we generate, and it's just a bunch of idiots plucking away their computers. But then if I want to, so for my Embers of Humanity project, my writing partner is this guy, Brian Ashford. Brian's great. We're real life friends. We lived around the corner from each other for years. And mostly I write and then Brian tells me why I'm wrong. That's kind of how the dynamic works. I do 90% of the writing and then he corrects all. But it works really well. We both love it and we both get to create these really cool worlds together. And when I find different dynamics, different people, and I like working with them, it goes really well.
Graham, would you like to jump in or shall I offer something?
I find it so hard. I find talking about the creative process so hard because you're asking me to box something incredibly personal, and it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
I don't listen to music. I'm not a great collaborator. I'm trying. I'm getting better. I start with some sort of little idea that comes from. I don't even know where it comes from. Like, sometimes it's something like I should write a game on beer mats, or it's like I should write just a really. Sometimes it's quite a commercial place, actually. There was this time I sort of said, look, if I really wanted to, make money out of Cthulhu Dark, I'd be writing a system called Dragon Dark. And oh wait, hang on. And then that sat in my subconscious for ages. And then I was like, I quite like fantasy. I can do it like this. So there's a little idea. It sort of sits in my unconscious. I go for walks. Sometimes I abandon them for several years. I still haven't written a game with beer mats. Sometimes I work away at them and I get stuck on a problem, and then I sort of put that in the back of my head and I go to sleep and I wake up and it's I've worked out a way. So I just find talking about creativity really, really hard.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
Something that Graham's touched on, not in the same way. I don't know, Graham, if this is something that you would admit to. I think if I get an idea, if I get inspiration, if I'm excited by it, and it's like you've got that like, ooh, okay, when I'm at work, I'll be teaching lessons, I'll be doing whatever. It's there. It's the thing I'm thinking about, but not talking about it is the thing that keeps it fresh. Not telling anybody. If I sat down and told someone, if I spieled and went, and this is gonna, and then this, and then this, I would almost lose my enthusiasm for it. So I have to not share. And I've worked on a project, a brilliant project. Recently, it's not published yet. It's the Year of the Goat project, which Heinrich Moore and Evan Perlman have kind of helmed. And there's 13 writers. We're all writing a scenario on Shub-Nuggerath, and it's brilliant fun. It's been great. And the back and two in the channels, the Discord channels of the different writers have been lovely. It's in the Playhouse. I feel terrible because I'm one of the least contributors to the conversation, but it's because if I start going and this and this and this, I kind of lose my excitement for it. So that selfishness is I really enjoy having that selfishness over an idea and then playing with it. But I think because of people like Hedge, I've started to do more collaborative things. I've started to share a bit. That nerves of going, oh, here's a bit of my work. Have a look. I'm so embarrassed by it. Have a look. That's a bit of it as well. I think imposter syndrome can hit all of us occasionally. The other thing is my work and my life at home are so institutionalized. I work in a school. I basically conduct people around a timetable constantly. So that timetable actually provides me with time as well. I'm very, very lucky. My head teacher believes that a lunch time is important. Which is great. Lots of our kids get to go to clubs and things at school, which is amazing. They actually do a proper club. Our lunch is an hour long. We work longer. It's not that we get less this time in the day, but that hour, if I'm not, as a drama teacher, a head of drama, head of media, if I'm not working directly with kids, that's an hour where I just go, nobody disturbed me. And I can have that significant chunk of time because I come home, kids, whatever, clubs, whatever. That's a really selfish bit of time there that I can kind of lose myself. And it's lovely. It's really self-indulgent, which I don't know whether that's the key, but it seems to work for me at the moment.
I can just jump just to give your audience this really important piece of feedback, which is that Newman and I have effectively said the exact opposite thing as to how we create stories. And that's an important point to hit on. Yeah. Right? Because like if anyone's going to come and try and listen to advice and they hear what I say and they're like, oh my God, that terrifies me. That's fine. It's like being creative is weird.
Mm-hmm. There's no one process for it whatsoever. Like there's no one way to create anything. You know, like Graham says he doesn't listen to music. I don't know what that would be like for me. You know, like I have to have some kind of like I have dark ambient for the new collection and it's just like it's turned up to 11 and my headphones are on, the lights are off, and like I'm that focuses me. And I have a writing partner on Sundays. Every Sunday I've got a writing partner. So like, you know, I can show him stuff and he can be like, well, this kind of sucks. What do you mean by this? And so like they can, in that collaborative effort, you're getting editing, but you're also getting like live on the fly edits and commentary. And you could be like, oh, okay, that's a perspective I hadn't thought about before. Cool. Now I've got another hour's worth of writing I can fucking pound out based on that 2-minute conversation. So that's one of those things that I did in grad school that was really helpful for me. But yeah, there's no one way to do any of this by any means. So having said that, do you guys have any particular kinds of tools or software that you use? Like we talked about the Pomodoro method in the last episode where, Evan Perlman loves it. He writes for 10 minutes and then he goes off and does something else, comes back, does another 10-minute sprint, this kind of thing. I've got a couple of books that I like the Trope Thesaurus for horror, which is great. It breaks down a bunch of different horror movies based on like the kinds of tropes that they end up using.
Cool.
And then they explain what that trope is in the back of the book. There's also Jeff Vandermeer's, Wonder Book, which is super cool for writers. It's brain candy, basically.
And his series of books, his novels, the
Annihilation and
series of books. Wow.
Yeah.
Great storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any tools that you kind of tend to lean on, or that you recommend to people who might be starting out, or anything of that nature?
I'll start because mine is simple, if that's okay, and then I'll be quiet.
Yeah.
Let the real people talk. I used to use Scrivener. Many moons ago, back when I was silly and young, and this is where nobody is allowed to Google anything. I wrote a book once, a non-gaming book, just a novel, and it's that thing now where you look at it and you kind of like, this is the published version, but these are the notes. Yeah. Lots of them. Whoa, there it was. Lots of notes. So I use Scrivener.
His Instagram, you can find it.
Oh no, shush, Hedge. Scrivener was amazing for that, and I know that Scott Dorwood uses Scrivener. We've talked about it in the past, and he almost reignited my love for Scrivener. But I have to say, I think, because I use lots of machines at work and this, and I'm in the back of a meeting pretending to listen, and I'll be actually kind of making notes. I use Google Docs quite a lot, but then also because those times where I am brave enough to share and collaborate. I haven't shaved in a while. Then it's super important that those Google Docs. I love the access to it. But Scrivener is a fantastic tool. I'm afraid, apart from that, my my experience of software doesn't go much beyond that. So I'm interested to learn.
Ignoring the whole collaborative shaving aspect of things, could you describe to people, just in case they don't know what it is? Could you describe what Scrivener is? Just kind of I know what it is, but
so the Scrivener, and there'll be people out there that go, he hasn't used half the bloody tools it's got. But for me, when I was using Scrivener, what I did was it was a great tool in terms of almost taking like a mind map or a thought cloud, but then making it into a very organized kind of list of submenus and things. So, for example, characters. What you write in these characters would never end up in the actual novel or the TTRPG itself, but you could write character profiles, you could put images in there, and you can really kind of go to town with your details, so that when you go to chapter 12 and you're looking at edits and you're like, what was that character do? You can go back to it. You can also link, so you could search the character and you're reminding yourself where the characters come up in the novel, and there's a fantastic linked system that helps you navigate characters, locations, themes, chapters. You can kind of cross-reference everything in a very sophisticated way, and I think Scrivener, since when I used it, I know there's been another version or two since back in the day when I used it, so I imagine it's even more sophisticated now. But in my very humble speak, Bucho, from what I remember, it's the idea of you can categorize and kind of quantify as much as you want, which then allows that almost godlike ability to look at your novel and go, I want to know about this thing that I've done that I can't quite remember, and poof, here's all the information you've done on it.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like it was primarily an organizational tool, but that was also a really good tool for writing. Yeah. How about anybody else? Any books, any software, anything that you guys lean on?
I tend to use a lot of templates. Some of the games I write for do have a kind of standard template that you can build a scenario on. Liminal is one I've written several scenarios for, but has a template, which is basically a background, hook, first location, leads, second location, conclusion. I may have skipped a step somewhere because I'm just doing that straight out of my head, but that's basically how it works. So part of the writing process is I'll open up my word processor of choice for the day, which is either Google Docs or LibreOffice Writer.
Yeah. Crank that Rihanna.
Yep. Paste in the template and then start filling out all the subheadings.
I use a mixture of Scrivener and Google Docs in a similar way to Newman, except I think I'm slightly more actively using Scrivener than he is. I like it because of the ability to reference, because you can have multiple screens up at the same time, so I can just make sure that I remember what the guy's name is. Otherwise, the guy's surname slightly alters throughout the document a few times.
Yeah, I've had that happen a couple times.
I'm quite bad at the short-term memory stuff, so I tend to like to have the reference. But the way I write is not, I don't think it's particularly healthy. I get obsessed, I write, and I forget to eat. And then suddenly there's 10,000 words there. So I wouldn't recommend it personally. I don't think it's the best way to do things. And someone else should talk.
I mean, skipping lunch every once in a while to get 10,000 words knocked out is not
Good
not
sacrifice.
yeah, it's a great sacrifice.
Consider
Consider
it 10 minute thing. How the hell? I can't even imagine doing that. 10 minutes and then walking away coming back.
I have to be dived in. Like I have to be completely drowning in the work. Like 10 minutes is nothing. Like I need to put horse blinders on and just go. 10 minutes.
Oh, that's interesting because like I don't do Pomodoro. By the way, I just use Google Docs. I don't use Pomodoro, but what I do find works for me is just working in short bursts. So if I really want to get something done, if I can sort of get a train, write for half an hour, do a little bit of a walk, sit down in a cafe, do a bit more, get on the train back, and that actually does really really work for me. And I think if I'm at home, like sometimes I can do this is if I'm doing the writing, not the game design, I think. And sometimes I can do, an hour or two, but then I will need to manufacture something, like some little walk or something, and then I start again.
You got to have that break in there for sure. I've been printing off unfinished versions of the stories that I'm working on, so I can take them with me to the bar or the coffee shop and just make like physical notes there, so I'm not on my phone or on my laptop where I can be distracted. If I'm just looking at the paper, then I've got nothing that can distract me, and so it's easier for me to kind of stay in the moment, which has been a new thing for me.
That is something for me as well. I actually actively well, I don't know. Maybe I haven't tested this enough yet. I don't think I edit very well my own work on screen. So I am notorious for ordering a print of something and kind of going, I need to sit with a pen and paper and do it. Whereas it's this, editing on a screen, I find, and some people are amazing, like they've got almost like a beautiful skill at doing it. Heinrich is someone that I would mention who is quite a connoisseur, savant editing Google Docs on Google Docs. I'm like, I gotta print it and make some notes, sorry mate. But I'm in awe of people like that.
I've got so many copies of Cosmic Dark floating around the house. Literally.
I don't, Graham. I've noticed this. I don't.
It's on the way. Don't crap my creative process. So
I'm pretty sure I was backer number 1, dog. Come on, let's go. All
right,
dish it up.
You can have this one. It's all scribbled. I do a lot of scribbling on this. So yeah. Also, I edit in layout. I'm the worst.
You edit in layout?
Yeah. So I actually this is the thing I do. So early on, it's funny. I'm saying I don't use these tools, but I lay out a game quite early because it kind of starts me getting to think about how I'll need to write. And there's something about you getting the typefaces and so on that kind of makes me think, this is the look and feel of this game. I'm getting this. And so I often do that. And so there is a long time it's in Google Docs, but actually there's a long time it's in layout as well. And so I'm just sort of fiddling around with the layout.
It's funny you say that because like I tried to do a lot of experimental formatting with some of my stories, not so much in the last book, but certainly in this latest one, which is more going to be laid out like a corrupted Bible, but like messing around with the different fonts and the sizes and the shapes and seeing how they lay out on the page is very important. Like it really, at first it was just a collection of stories. And then I was like, oh, this is something more than a collection of stories. And so when you start messing with those physical aspects of the book, you're like, the book is becoming something more, which I find fun when you start seeing some of that personality poke out. So
is something else I do as well.
I'm sorry, what was that, Sue?
In my fonts is something I do in my templates. Like most games have got some kind of font associated with them. So if I'm writing a Cthulhu Dark scenario, I'll put the title in League Gothic font.
That is a good point.
For the week, I'll put it in Third Man font. It just sort of makes it look like I'm writing for that game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. How do you guys have a threshold? I got some really interesting answers to this last time. How do you know when a piece is done? Like when you are finally done with either the game or the scenario or
No, I'm not clear.
whatever.
What's that word?
It's a trap. It's a trick. It's a trap.
I've heard of it.
What is your threshold for completing a project? What is your threshold?
Deadlines. The deadline that we've been given. Deadline. Oh, it's done. It's done.
I mean, because we can edit the hell out of our own stuff over and over and over again, but like we can get stuck in that forever and never pull out of it. So like, is there ever a defining moment where you know it's done, or is it just all by vibe? Like,
I write.
stage. I'll
Sorry,
say mine
you
really
go.
quickly if you don't mind. So I get to the stage. So I'm a notorious. I edit, and edit, and by the stage I realize I'm changing something back to the thing it was before I did the last edit.
Sure.
I kind of go, okay, stop it. It's just done.
I think I write in quite a simple style, so I don't write very long form. I try and keep word count fairly low throughout everything I do. And so when I kind of read it through and I'm not cutting anymore is when I kind of know, all right, it's got to go to other people now. It's got to go, and it's someone else is going to have to proofread this, get that back, get it checked, get it away from me and onto other people. That's kind of the finish point for me.
okay.
I'm as per usual. I am the yin to Hedge's yang. Because it's one of our OnlyFans channels. Because I overwrite, and I'm very aware that I overwrite, and I'm trying to get better at it. But one of the things that I know as well is that I know there's a time where I've got to hand it to someone, and I've got to trust that person's going to be able to, you know, as an editor, one of the most crucial skills. I can edit my own work time and time again, but having that second person, second mindset, second reader, third reader, fourth reader, whatever, or that very crucial kind of lead editor on a project, the faith in that, I think, is something that can help bring me to a point where, dare we say the word DONE, you know, it's I'd still look at it and I'd go, I'm pretty sure that one sentence there, I had a whole paragraph there that explained it better. But that's me looking back on something that I've then trusted somebody else to edit. And for the consumption of, let's say, gamers, tabletop role-playing gamers, the sentence is better than the paragraph. It's just, I know I overwrite. So that faith in my editors who do quality work, they're my people that tell me to take a walk.
And it's crucial to have a good editor or someone with another set of eyes that you trust. I mean, in grad school, there were certain people that would end up in my classes where I would, you know, you'd have to submit like 30 pages of new writing every few weeks. And you'd get the response back from people. It's like, okay, I trust you because even though you don't like my stuff, you've clearly read it, you understand it, you're providing really good feedback, and you're saying here's some good things that are happening, blah blah blah. Like, you can tell who is a good editor and who is just kind of like looking to snipe your stuff. So finding those people is really, really important, I think.
Try and snipe Newman stuff, but I get bored reading it and fall asleep.
He just approves it. Yeah, it's all good.
Genius, darling. It's fantastic.
Well, as we start wrapping things up, what is a final piece of advice you would give to somebody who might come to you looking for advice to do what it is that you guys do, whether it's write scenarios, whether it's create games? What would you tell someone?
I'd tell him to go speak to Graham. And then he'd roll his eyes.
Does give good advice. Yeah.
He does.
The eyes heard rolled around the world.
Yeah.
I don't know. I roll my eyes.
So you've got advice, Sue, haven't you?
I suppose I do. Yeah, I'd say find the thing that you're excited about right now and write that.
Yeah.
try and do something different from what other people are doing. So I think you can see a lot of this stuff in Cthulhu scenarios, and people will try to write a Cthulhu scenario. And yeah, you do have to do that a bit, but try and find your own take on it, and something that, well, like Sue says, you're excited about. Yeah, try and find your own way of doing it.
Yeah.
Comfortable with the fact that the first couple of things you create will be a bit rubbish and do them anyway. Like, the most common thing, right, for people getting into role-playing games and design is they come in and they've got the idea. And the idea is normally their own system, which is going to solve all of the problems that they had in their home game, and they're going to fix it and they're going to rewrite, and it's going to be this huge campaign setting, my own version of Massive Nyarlathotep. And the thing is, those are giant lead weights, and and you have such dreams for them, but actually create some small crap stuff. Create some stuff that you can finish, get done, get published, get feedback on, and then create more and more and more. Create lots.
Yeah.
Create different stuff. Copy, steal, use tropes, sure. Do it until you know why you shouldn't do it. And then eventually you'll end up creating something, your own thing, and hopefully it will be different and unique because you've learned enough that it's of value.
Yeah.
Is that the learn the rules, then break the rules kind of thing?
Learn the rules, then break the rules.
That's a good one. Yeah.
For instance,
I've heard it before.
For instance, at some point, Newman, you should learn the rules of Call of Cthulhu.
There's no rules. It's a systemless game. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I have a dice. I just make up I roll and just say a number. That's how we do it. Bucho, can I be
That
really,
explains so much of Rivers of London.
Can I be really, really annoying and like just kind of say two things where everybody else is just going to cringe and like throw up off screen?
I mean, why stop now? Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean. You might as well. It's career of a lifetime. The first is, and I love saying his name in circles to see who reacts. Stephen King. His book on writing, he has that
great.
thing.
It's a great book.
It's a great book. Really lovely. The whole like emotional journey of him as a person, beautiful. But I know other people say it, but I always like quoting him saying it. Just the idea of write your first draft. Don't constantly edit along the way. And I'm a bit of a hypocrite here. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't. But his whole thing is get your first draft done. Shit, first draft, get it done, because then there's a first draft to work on. If you don't get that as a new writer, it's like, what are you going to go back and edit? You then won't have the fun of going, is it done? And playing that horrific, nightmarish game of going back and constantly editing your own work, like Graham said, to the point where you've re-edited something that it was originally was. The other thing I would say, someone who, as much as I value as much as Stephen King, we might know his name. When I first kind of got into this circle, a certain someone by the name of Michael Mason, some people call him Mike. He talked quite a lot. I remember like talking to him quite a lot, and about very specifically subverting the norms. And obviously he's been in this world for he's been in this particular world for a long time, driving a lot of the stuff that we've played, we've read, we've watched, etc., etc., etc. And that always just really stuck with me. And I think Graham said it earlier, don't do something people expect. And I think, when you're hearing someone like Mike Mason say, subvert the norms, you're going to tell me a story about Bigfoot. Don't give me Bigfoot. Make me think it's Bigfoot, but give me something else. Yeah. And it was really cool. I think, when I was, a bit of a, greenhorn at this, that was something that I quite liked and I kind of held quite dear to my heart. I think it gave me a bit of direction. Get a first draft done. Try and subvert the norms, write something that's a bit different.
Yeah.
Fun.
Can I just come back, actually? I think there's quite an important thing. So play test it. Really, really important. So actually, in a way, don't focus on this beautifully polished thing, get something down on paper, go and play test it, and then come back and change it then. And this is what people get wrong, that they go away and write a thing. No, that's not what we're doing. We're not sitting and writing a story. We're writing something that people can play. And to do that, you have to play test again and again and again. You really do.
There's a wild kind of Rena has kind of infected Doc with this philosophy, and I love it. It just wouldn't work for me. But like, Rena will write down 3 or 4 or 5 bullet points for a scenario, and then play test that, and then they'll start writing. They'll start fomenting more of the fat that goes onto that, and I find that wild. Like, I could never. I don't work with that much of no parachute, but I find it fascinating. But it works for them.
If I can build on those ideas. Sorry, Sue.
Yeah, so the scenario that I take along to a convention to run for the first time is one thing, and then several conventions later, I'll go back and look at what I have written down and like, what the hell is this? It's not what I've been running for the last few months, and then I have to go and rewrite it all. So part of my knowing when it's done is when what's written down is the same as the thing I've just been running.
That's lovely. I really like that. Yeah, I play tested and I go, the players did this. I should just write a bit in the thing.
Kind of build on all those ideas as well. Like, you should play test it, because like, hopefully you're going to enjoy running it. Like, if you don't enjoy running it, there's something wrong. You need to think about this again. If you've written something and you love playing and you love running it for groups, that's a good sign. That's a really good sign that it's got some potential. It's got legs. So that the other reason to play test stuff is it fun? Like, is it a thing you want to bring to tables? Like, there's one of my games, the very first one I wrote ended up being a bit of a cult success. It's called Alpaca in the Feed Fields. And it gets run at conventions a lot because it's really, really fun to run, and it's really, really easy to run. And that's nothing to do with my success as an author. It's not a particularly well-written scenario. It's just easy to run
fun.
And plays well. Yeah. And so that's good feedback.
Well, guys, I want to thank you all for showing up and providing some really fantastic input on this particular topic. So if we could do one more round, I'd like to go around, and if you would, tell us what you're working on, what you've got forthcoming. Feel free to be as verbose as possible. Graham, I know you've got a ton of stuff in the chamber, so we'll start with you, going alphabetically again.
Oh wow! Okay, I'm just about to print Cosmic Dark. If I didn't say that, Hedge and Bucho would just have a massive go at me.
Yep.
So yeah, just about to print Cosmic Dark, and I'm reprinting my books Stealing Cthulhu and Cthulhu Dark,
which is a great reference book itself, Stealing Cthulhu.
If you're interested in how to write horror scenarios, I think I give some pretty good advice in there. Things I'm working on at the moment are a game called Alien Archaeology, which is, as it sounds, it's a space game about wandering slowly round ruins, decoding an ancient script and working how it affects your own history. I love it. It's very strange. There's a game called Murder at Clifftop Hotel, which is a murder mystery storytelling game on cards, and there is Dragon Dark, which is is coming, and which is not quite the same as Cthulhu Dark. It's a lovely fantasy game. There you go.
All right. Hedge, what have you got in the chamber for us?
So I'll start with my up-and-coming appearance at the Miskatonic Repository Con, where I will be playtesting the first scenario of my upcoming campaign, which is presently entitled The Tontine. The first scenario is called The Nomad, and I'll be playtesting it publicly for the first time at MRCon. It's hopefully going to be really weird and odd and interesting, and there's going to be some commentary going on about life and stuff, or it's going to be a complete flop. We will see. It's fun to play, so I've got that going for me. But most of my love and time is spent with my lovely little system, Embers of Humanity, which there are 2 threads of. The first one is that we produce a lot of third-party content, and the way we do this is that we have a supporters group who all give $1 to $5 per month. And then we take that money and we spend it on first-time authors or newer authors or indie authors who want to write for the system. And we give them money up front and we give them part of the proceeds. And it's a really good system. We've managed to produce 5 third-party content pieces this year, which was super exciting. We're about to produce one more. And it's just really great because the people who give us small amounts of money get to then pay indie authors to create content for the game, which means the game has loads of content already.
Yep.
And the second one is that we're getting to the print edition, which will go live for its fundraiser on the 1st of November, if I get everything going correctly.
Nice.
And Graham is being a bit of a mentor as I go through this process, although he's never actually admitted to it in public, but he's helping me out and just giving me lots of advice as we go through. So you can expect wonderful, wonderful things for our new game and the new print edition. If you'd like to get yourself a copy, go to Embers of Humanity on any of the platforms, or just come bother me and I'll tell you all about it.
Beautiful.
I'm
Sue.
allowed to nip in really quickly and
Sure.
just say, this is the other tip, right? That people do share what they know.
Yeah.
So go and ask them. Right, I'll shut up. Sorry, Sue.
No, it's a good tip. Yeah, we're all available. We're all out here. We are all happy to share our experience as we are doing right now. It's literally the whole point. Like, we want everybody to be better at what they do and to have fun doing it. So, yeah. Sue, what do you have coming up that we should be paying attention for?
Yeah, my publications would not look as good as they do without having some advice from Graham on cover fonts. So I've got a new Cthulhu Dark scenario in the works. It's called Angier's Folly, and it's based on the ghost stories of M.R. James.
Okay.
So that should be along as soon as I convince myself it's finished and get it off to the editor. I'm also working on a set of Victorian pulp horror adventures, which will probably be called London Horrors. And so that will be along as soon as I've written all 5 of them.
Fantastic. Newman, what do you got coming up, man?
Well, apart from the constant barrage of Miskatonic Playhouse kind of APs and events and things going on, I do have that wonderful honor this year of being the kind of the chair of the Council of Shoggoths for Miskatonic Repository Con. So yeah, I mean the Miskatonic Repository Con is amazing. Whether you want to play test, if you're a writer and you're like, how do I do this? Go play in someone's game. It's a free convention. Just experience it. It's a wonderful kind of community collaboration. Get involved. We've got some panels as well, which are going to be fantastic. People talking about things like playtesting, people talking about things like making monsters. We got a few competitions going as well. So please, get involved and check it out. My own personal writing, I've got a scenario in this gigantic collaboration from Heinrich and Evan, which is the Year of the Goat. And I personally have written a scenario. Oh, it's very cringy, but it's also brilliant fun, I think, to play, linking back to our playing horrible characters. It's set in a modern day gym. So it's very kind of gym and lots of horror within that. So I'm hoping it's going to be fun. I think so. I think it's a bit tongue in cheek. The other big thing that I've seem to just constantly work on. This is something that I need to just get done now. Is the forever job of Cult and Culpability, which is one of our first actual plays, but it is my campaign book for Regency Cthulhu that is kind of done. But I'm in that stage that Graham talked about where I'm editing things back to the original state and need probably a support group or some such thing. An intervention, I think, is probably necessary here. But yeah, so that will come out at some point. But apart from that, Miskatonic Playhouse, Miskatonic Repository, it's where I spend my life.
Fantastic. And that, friends of the Symphony, is where our show is going to end for the night. Thank you so much for everyone who took the time to join us in this deep dive this afternoon. We sincerely appreciate you, and we hope you'll consider checking out our first video in the series if you haven't done so already. Again, if you enjoyed this content, please consider helping us make more by backing us on Patreon at patreon.com/Symphony Entertainment. We hope you've enjoyed tonight's show, and we look forward to seeing you again. So have a wonderful night.